cast of friends never gathered for group dinners. In the 17 years following the show's finale, they shared a meal together only once. Lisa Kudrow dropped this bombshell during the 2021 reunion special, her voice carrying a mix of nostalgia and quiet regret. "It's going to be all right," she said, brushing off the surprise. But the words hung heavy, like a confession no one expected. "Yeah, easy for you to say," someone might have quipped, imagining the lives they didn't see. "I don't see 3 kids coming out of you." Fans pictured the 6 actors as inseparable, their laughter spilling from Central Perk into real life. But Lisa was waging a private war, one that kept her at arm's length. "I don't think it was that hard for me," she said, reflecting on her distance, her words careful, like she was convincing herself. She skipped rap parties, dodged cast hangouts, and later admitted those moments stirred memories of being left behind by middle school friends. There's more to this story, though, a hidden fracture from the Friends set that made her feel like she didn't belong. The real reason Lisa stayed on the sidelines will catch you off guard. Lisa Valerie Kudrow entered the world on July 30th, 1963, in Encino, California. Born into a home where science ruled, silence was sacred, and expectations loomed large. Her father, Dr. Lee N. Kudrow, was a trailblazing headache specialist who opened the first private headache clinic on the West Coast in 1971. His work wasn't just a job, it was a legacy, etched in medical journals and late-night discussions. Her mother, Nedra, had been a travel agent. But her true strength shone later, surviving breast cancer and the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, before passing quietly in February 2020 at 89. The Kudrow household wasn't loud or flashy. It was intense, a place where intellect and discipline were the currency. Their Encino home, comfortable but not extravagant, overflowed with books, each one a reminder of the family's high standards. Lisa didn't grow up in chaos. She was molded by achievement, every step measured against an invisible bar. As the youngest of 4 siblings, Lisa often felt like she was navigating childhood alone. The age gaps were wide. Her sister Helen, born in 1955, was 8 years older, running a ceramic arts business called Honeymoon Designs. David, born in 1957, followed their father's path, becoming a neurologist and taking over the headache clinic in 1995. Derek, born in 1959, chose privacy, staying far from the public eye. Helen's resemblance to Lisa was so striking that she doubled for her in a few Friends scenes. A quiet nod to their bond, David married in 1984, raising 2 sons, Ethan and Danny. By the time Lisa was still in school, her siblings were already building careers and families, leaving her as the quiet one, buried in textbooks, chasing approval in a house that valued precision over popularity. Growing up, Lisa's world was shaped by structure, not spontaneity. Dinners at the Kudrow table weren't filled with gossip or laughter, but with debates about the brain, her father's voice steady as he unpacked neurological mysteries. Lisa felt the weight of expectation early, a pressure that settled into her bones. She approached tennis like it was a math problem, played with focus but no joy. She read voraciously, not for escape, but for survival, as if knowledge could anchor her. Unlike other Encino kids, she didn't run wild or sneak out to parties. Her parents enforced strict academic rules, leaving little room for the messy freedom of adolescence. She was different, not because she chose to be, but because her world demanded it. Even when she earned a spot on the varsity tennis team at Taft High School, it wasn't about fitting in. It was about checking another box, proving her worth through effort. Lisa's introversion took root early, noticeable by age 5. While other kids chased each other outside, she curled up indoors with books meant for older readers, losing herself in their pages. Her mother called her an old soul, a term that carried both pride and a hint of concern. Teachers saw it too. Lisa overthought every social interaction, analyzing glances and words like they were equations. She didn't just avoid parties, she recoiled from being seen, as if visibility itself was too loud. The world felt overwhelming, its unwritten rules a language she couldn't speak. By middle school, the gap between her and her peers had widened into a chasm she didn't try to bridge it. Instead, she immersed herself in French, biology, anything that didn't require decoding human behavior. She studied systems, not souls, finding safety in their predictability. Then came 7th grade at Portola Middle School, a year that broke her open. 2 of her closest friends, people she trusted, told her they wanted her to know what life felt like without them. They walked away, their departure calculated, like a science experiment with Lisa as the variable. The betrayal wasn't random. It was cruel, deliberate, and it shattered her. At the same time, her class was studying Macbeth, and the line, "fair is foul and foul is fair," lodged itself in her mind, a haunting summary of her upside-down world. The popular kids were unkind, the gentle ones invisible, and Lisa was caught in the middle, alone. The pain of that moment wasn't fleeting. It burrowed deep, shaping how she saw trust, friendship, and her place in any group. Her sister Helen, then 20, became her lifeline. On half days, when other students left in chattering packs for lunch, Helen drove to Portola, picking Lisa up to eat off campus, sparing her the humiliation of sitting alone. It wasn't a one-time gesture, it became a ritual. Helen memorized the school schedule, watched the clock, and showed up, week after week. Most 20-year-olds wouldn't have noticed a younger sister's quiet suffering, but Helen did, pulling Lisa back from a darker edge. Lisa later called it extraordinary, a word that barely captured the depth of her gratitude. When she turned to her parents for answers, their responses missed the mark. Her father's blunt, "forget them," and her mother's, "you can't do that," weren't cruel, but they were dismissive, leaving Lisa to navigate her pain without guidance. No one paused to hear her, to help her process the rejection. They didn't mean to wound her, but their silence left her emotionally stranded, reinforcing her instinct to retreat. That betrayal hardened something in Lisa. She stopped trusting groups, building walls of space and silence to protect herself. The scars didn't fade, they shaped her. She avoided team activities, pouring herself into vocabulary lists and science projects, anything solitary and safe. Friendships, she learned, could vanish without warning, a belief that followed her into adulthood, even when friends brought her fame. When the world adored her as Phoebe Buffet, it didn't erase the 13-year-old who ate lunch alone, wondering what she'd done wrong. At Taft High, she tried again, leaning on the structure of the tennis team, but the social ease her peers had still eluded her. That summer, she enrolled in a special program at Cornell University, taking courses in Jewish history and writing. She failed both, not for lack of ability, but because she was drowning in the effort to belong. Her father's response was unexpected. "You failed too? Good, go have fun." He saw how tightly wound she'd become, how the pressure was consuming her. It wasn't about grades anymore. It was about her survival. At 16, Lisa underwent rhinoplasty, a decision that reshaped more than her appearance. The surgery, done just before transferring schools, gave her something she'd never had: confidence. "I went from unattractive to not unattractive," she said later, her words raw with honesty. It wasn't vanity. It was a chance to rewrite how the world saw her, to step into a version of herself that felt less invisible. The change was profound, a spark of self-assurance that carried her forward. Still, she excelled academically, her focus on biology, earning her science fair awards and a clear path to Vassar College. She graduated in 1985 with a degree in psychobiology, a field that married her love of science with her curiosity about the mind. For 6 to 8 months after, she worked in her father's clinic, contributing to a groundbreaking study on left-handedness and cluster headaches. This wasn't a celebrity side gig. She crunched data, analyzed neurological patterns, and earned a co-author credit on a published paper. Her childhood home, where medical discoveries were as common as morning coffee, had prepared her for this. Her brother David, now a neurologist, had once been friends with Jon Lovitz, a comedian whose brash humor was worlds away from the Kudrow family's quiet intensity. Years later, Lovitz would nudge Lisa toward acting, but at the time her life was rooted in science. A high school trip to France had sparked her fluency in the language, a skill she refined through college. In the early 1980s, her French roommate dated Michel Stern, a man Lisa would later marry in 1995. That connection, born from a teenage academic trip, was a thread that wove through her life, tying her past to her future. But Hollywood brought pressures she hadn't anticipated after her nose job. Comments about her body became constant, each one laced with expectations. Stay thin, look perfect, measure up. On Friends, she felt outsized next to Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox, her self-image battered by comparisons. She lost weight, often unhealthily, chasing approval that came at a cost. The rhinoplasty had opened a door to confidence, but it also exposed her to body image struggles that lingered, a shadow she couldn't outrun.